Hey guys, and welcome to the second PvP on the channel, also the second PvP of this first series. This is prime time here for SC2 HDTV and 2D. Oh yeah. And so prime time up in the top left, and then the bottom right we have Eggy. So we will see how this game gets underway. But for now, I'd just like to mention that I will be casting these games in sort of like a race matchup, like paired together. So for now, for the next week or two, it's going to be all PvP videos. After that, it'll be PvZ for a little bit, and after that, it'll be PvT for a little bit. And I'm just going to show you guys just all the different possibilities for the builds that I have that I really like. And I'm going to try to sort of teach you the different scenarios that you'll encounter as the two scouting workers go on their path at about the same time. By the way, I like to send my scouting worker out right after the pylon builds, or even get started. So like I might send the worker to start the pylon and then rally a worker off the nexus to go scout. It looks like Eggy did a similar thing here, and the whole point of this is because if you go in their base, and right now this would be a forge if he was going to cannon rush, and if he was going to 2-gate proxy 2-gate me, you would not see this pylon. So those are the two things to look for. That doesn't cover everything a Protoss player could do to cheese you, but it's just two things. You do lose a little bit of money from sending that early worker out, but I find it to be worth it, because if you get a late scout, then you have to respond like so perfectly. Anyway, so I'm going to do the same exact build as before. I had the second pylon going down, and like I said, 2 gas on 16, and I'm just waiting to get the money for the second gas there. I didn't mention one thing about the gas, but typically what I do is after I build a Twilight Council, I will pull one worker off a gas. So in total I'll have 5 probes mining gas. And so it looks like I sniped his scouting worker right there. It's sort of a coin flip to send workers after their scouting workers to kill them, because if they're good, they won't lose their worker. If they're not the greatest, then you're going to lose mining time, but you will kill their workers. So there's sort of a it's sort of you know, it's not necessarily a complete win either way. But I see the second gas here, so I am not going to expect a 4-gate. And also he's chronoing his workers, so you can see he has a bit of chrono boost still, but especially if he drops another chrono, then I'll know I'm not going to get pressured. But it looks like he's going to chrono out the warp gate. That's standard. So, and he's not going to build the first zealot, just the stalker, so I'll be able to stay in his base for quite some time now. But back in my base, you can see early sentry, early warp gate research, and I will have about enough gas for another sentry as soon as this one finishes, and I'll go ahead and build another one. Also, you really want to chrono out your probes in the early stages of the game. Right after you get your sentry and warp gate research going, you want to just chrono, pylon, chrono on the nexus. Obviously you can't throw down 20 chronos, but you want to just keep on chronoing. So back in Eggy's base, he's going to go for a quick robo bay, and just to be safe, you want to get the 3-gate up before you throw down any tech, but it also works out pretty well for your build anyway. And I do this in both PvT and PvP. I get an odd number of workers, because then when my observer comes out, it'll be an even food count. Anyway, the only reason that Protoss needs to worry about that sort of thing is because they don't have Marines or Zerglings that only cost 1 food. So once again, Robo, Twilight, I didn't see any early pressure, so I'm going to stop at 2 sentries, and I'm going to just completely, and you can see I pulled one off right there. He's just scouting with this stalker right now, and because I didn't chrono a unit out, I couldn't kill that stalker. But let's say he came up that ramp and I had a zealot or stalker here, you can force field him in and kill him. He will get scouting off if he decides to, but still pretty much worth it. Warp gate's just now finishing up. You can see, oh wow, he actually chronoed that. I must have chronoed mine too. Anyway, so Twilight Council's finished, and you can see, as I said before, you do have some leeway with your chronos. So if I needed to, I could have dropped a couple chronos on units if he was going to pressure me, even though I didn't scout it. So chrono on the Twilight, just a rope, warp prism, and then the observer. And if you are not getting pressured, just go 3 zealots right after your 2 sentries. Just 3 zealots. Don't even get any stalkers. And then after you get these 3 zealots, don't get any more zealots. Just go pure stalker from here on out. Observers coming out, like I said, this will happen a lot. So it's sort of a judgment call if you want to get the observer out first, because if you get the observer out first and he sends an early observer in here, you can be assured to pick it off before he sees your warp prism. But it looks like I got lucky and he didn't see it anyway. Of course, if you go for the early observer, it'll delay this push by quite some time. However, when you're doing this warp prism push, there's several different ways you can execute it. You can either send it in right away, and the point of that would be because he's not going to have a lot of units at home to pick off your warp prism. Like right now, he's not going to have 4 stalkers or 5 stalkers to leave here, so that when your warp prism comes through, he's going to pick it off. He's way oversaturated, by the way. Look at units tab, 25 to 33 on the worker count. Actually, I could probably use a couple more. Yeah, between this number and 2 more is what you want, so 20 and 22 on the mineral line. Anyway, so let's see this attack getting underway here. Also, one very important thing, which is sort of just goes for every Protoss build, you want these proxy pylons down in time before you move out. Once again, the Nexus is going down. The way I can afford this off of a 3-gate robo with Twilight is by not building an Immortal, and also you have to skip a couple units here or there to afford the Nexus. So it looks like I'm going to poke forward with these units. I did not know the Nexus was there or not before I sent these units in. You can see he saved up for a Nexus though, so he sent the probe down to build it. So right off the bat, before any fighting has begun, I'm already ahead in this game because my Nexus is just a lot sooner. It's getting about to be a minute sooner. However, on the flip side, he's got a Robo Bay down, so he'll have the Robotech lead. But here comes the Warp Prism, once again, force field, and you can see these workers have nowhere to go. I can see they're over here, so the most likely place for him to run will be right now, like right there. Now, you can see I did this a lot differently than last game. Last game I sent this push in, lured his army down here, and then when his army was over here out of position, I dropped the back. And I got lucky that he was building a Nexus and he had his units here, so I could force field and kill that, but you saw that. In this game, I just decided to send the Warp Prism in first, before seeing his army move down here, because I didn't send my units in here first. I didn't see his units move down yet, but I still dropped anyway. And if we look at the Workers Killed tab, I've killed 6 workers. I think 2 of those were actually trying to build the Nexus, so I only killed 4 workers in the mineral line. Still a good attack though, considering I lost nothing, except for some energy on the sentry. Now my Nexus is up like a year before his, but his Robo Bay is already up. So this is very common. By the way, he's leaving stalkers. I'll get back to that in a second. This is very common for him to have the Robo Bay tech lead at this point, because your Robo Bay will be delayed by a long time, and actually mine's not even up yet. It's not even starting. Holy crap. By the way, right now I'm just trying to kill this pylon using the Warp Prism to spot. You really don't want to blink into your enemy's main base when you know he's there. And the reason is, even if you have perfect control, the most you're really going to kill is like 1 pylon, a couple probes, and then you'll lose nothing if you have perfect control. But typically you lose more than you'll kill, and then it's really not worth it. But getting back to the Warp Prism drops, if you drop your opponent recently, like if you've dropped him like last minute and you think you can go back in, typically they will leave units back home to defend. But if you still really want to drop, you can just send your observer in here and scout ahead. Anyway, enough of that. His Nexus is just now coming up. That really should have been up a lot sooner. I'm not sure what he was waiting for since he had the Colossus tech. And it looks like finally I have my Robo Bay finishing up. And right now, all you're really trying to do is just accomplish map control. And you can see I'm poking in right now. Blink away. Don't lose too much. And that I'm trying to free up his back mineral line for some Warp Prism harass. And so I'm going to go in with the same exact units as before, and we will see what happens. He does have 4 stalkers here in position, somewhat in position, so force field, nothing really happens. I lose 1 zealot? Do I lose a zealot? Yeah, he's going to die. So I don't believe I killed any workers there, but all I was trying to do is just If you didn't have these units here, you would kill a bunch of orcers. So it's sort of a coin toss on that one, but really not much of a risk to do. 2 workers on that gas. You really want 2 gas, and the reason is, or I meant full saturation on gas, and the reason is because you're going to follow this build up with double robo. At least this is what I do, and you're going to be sort of pushed for gas in this build because just sort of how it works out with a somewhat late nexus compared to how early some players get it. So what I'll do is I will, if you want to get this +1 upgrade, and by the way I still have 2 on this as well, you want to make sure you saturate that. If you're going to go for like a +1 upgrade, you're going to have to delay this by a decent amount, but I don't mind delaying the range upgrade that much because, I don't know, I just don't feel, it's a really good upgrade, but you want units before the range upgrade, so you want to get a couple Colossus out before you get the range anyway, so that's just my opinion. So I'm going to continue off the double robo. Number of gates I have, I've been off 3 gates this entire time. You can see my macro has been pretty good, and this would actually be a lot better if I had saturated these gases earlier. But a minor mistake there, and I'm going to build a second Twilight Council because I'm an idiot, and there goes the cancel. Now, you have your double robo out, which is very important for the mid to late game as Protoss versus Protoss. So that's all great and dandy, because a lot of times your opponents won't get the second robo out till a bit later. So even though you start your Colossus a lot later, you'll actually be able to get more eventually. If we look at the units tab right now, I should be behind 1. No, it's actually 4-4 right now. Ignore the rest, really. It's just about Colossus right now. I am ahead in the other categories simply because I got the Nexus up a lot sooner. But you can see in the Colossus count, I will be ahead shortly because I'm still off those 2 robos. And I'm feeling pretty good about my Colossus count, so I'm going to go ahead and move down south and try to get ready to attack. He's going to send the observer out. Your third base, I usually tend to expand a little bit late, but you can see my third base timing. That's been building for about a minute right now, so it means I threw it down about the 16-minute mark. And now in the fight, I have more Colossus, or the same amount. I don't actually really know for sure. But with the Stalkers, all I'm trying to do is just kill a Colossus here or there if I can. And pretty good micro from Eggy. I was sort of out of position with my Colossus earlier, but pretty good control nonetheless. And it looks like this game's about to end shortly. Excuse me. So, with all that said, just a couple quick notes. Actually, you know what? We're going to go over the rest in the next cast, as it's going to be another one of these builds, except the late game is going to be much different than this one. So, you'll see what happens in the next video. Obviously, I should have saturated this base with the main base probes. Also, when you get a late third expo, you can do that. Really, you only need to build like 10 more workers because you'll have a lot of workers that are oversaturating over here. So, anyway, enough said. We will go into the next game, and I'll speed through the early parts because it's going to be pretty similar. So, anyway, thanks for watching, and Prime Time signing out.